Hi, this is Jacob again. Um, Decided to do another video, and so I wanted to comment about the television and radio broadcasting. Um, the TV broadcasting is diminished, I believe, dramatically from what it once was. Um, the shows that are on now aren't a fraction of what they were. I don't think as good as they were in the 90s, especially when I was growing up. Um, One of the big things we've lost in television is Nickelodeon Studios. Um, it has closed. It used to be in Orlando, Florida, a Universal Studios, and all the productions have moved out to California mostly, and most of them tape on Nickelodeon on Sunset, which doesn't even have a live studio audience anymore, and it's just not the same. Uh, there's other guys that have done, I've seen on here on YouTube, bring back Nickelodeon Studios, which I agree, but I don't think that it's going to happen because, it's hard to recreate things that once were and make them what they once were. Does that make sense? Um, that was a time in my life I wouldn't trade for anything. And I would like to see it too, but I just don't think it's viable. That it's going to happen. The other thing, you know, there are some good TV shows on. Nickelodeon isn't what it once was because they have mostly it's all cartoons anymore. They call them Nicktoons, but you know if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But I think they need to create an all classic Nickelodeon channel, which they do have a block on TV called 90s or All That, which is on Teen Nick of an evening, real late of an evening. Um, Another thing I wanted to bring up, which I think I have talked about in previous videos I've done on here, which is about radio. Now, most people don't realize, and I'm kind of an insider in this because I've toured a lot of radio stations, talked to DJs and programming directors and things of that nature. I've watched videos here on YouTube of what radio stations were back in the day. They call them air checks, which, by the way, is good. If you check that out, gives you a perspective of what radio used to be like. Anymore, it's nothing like it. There's two ways you do radio now. Okay, either by syndication, which is from another town entirely, which most of them comes out of LA, Dallas, Nashville, New York, whatever. What you do with that is the radio stations, like where I live, purchase, subscribe to it. It's a service. There's a guy in a studio in another location out of state that is doing what a regular disc jockey would do in local radio. But he's linked by satellite from him to all the stations. They call them affiliates across the country. Kind of like if you watched a local ABC affiliate or NBC or whatever. Same thing, except it's radio. The other thing is, a lot of times on radio now, they're not live in the studio. It's what they call voice tracking. In voice tracking, you never know when they're there. in the studio. They can basically go through and record a full shift in probably an hour, from what I'm told. They don't hear the music except the tail end of the song that they're recording for, and it plays back just a little bit of the next song, or the next thing they're doing. It's called a voice break. So I don't, radio and TV is not what it used to be. It used to be, in these videos, these air checks, where you'd have a guy that had to be in the studio at all times, because there was no computer at that time. You'd have machines all across where you were standing or wherever. Most of the time they were standing because they were so busy. You'd have cart machines, they called them, that would be, and machines for music and whatever. They would be all across the room, and everything was played by from the mixing board and the machines. So you'd have to hit, for each song or commercial, you'd have to hit a button on the board. Well, now the commercials are already loaded in the computer ahead of time. Music director schedules the music, loads it in the computer, so the DJ just has to talk. He doesn't have to do anything but talk and hit one button on the mixing board, and that's all he has to do all the time he's there. There are occasions when they are live, and you can tell by them answering the phones. There's some videos on YouTube of voice tracking, radio voice tracking, and you should check that out. It explains how it's done. But I just wanted to do a video on the radio and television industry and how it's changed, I believe, for the worse. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you on the next video here on YouTube.